Whoa, this is the Illusion reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth. So I had one of those encounters where as a human being, I botched. So I was at the post office, mailing a bunch of mail, and I was at a different post office than I normally go to. And, you know, I'm there all the time, so I have a pretty casual scene at the post office, and everybody knows Owl and the whole thing. Because I usually bring a bunch of mail in. And so I went to this other post office, and I was getting all my stuff, and Al started like taking things apart, right? Wasn't paying attention. The postal guy was like, dude, like, you're gonna let your kid do that? And I got all like incensed. I got all like, what is it? Entitled, if you will. I became an entitled human being. Because I would never like let Al like, we and Al had to talk about it afterwards, about the thing of what he was doing. He was just taking the priority mail stickers out of the slot and making a stack with them. The postal guy was right. But I was fully like entitled, and I know that the other gal who works there I'm fully buddies with, and I was just kind of rude to this dude, man. I wasn't I was rude to the guy. So I left, and I'm driving away. I had to talk with Al about what was going on and why that was super inappropriate, because it's full boundaries time. That's Al teaching him boundaries and what's appropriate, inappropriate, and I got to figure that out too, man. And so I was driving. I drove like about 1.5 miles up the PCH, and I was like, dude, I got to go apologize to that guy, man. I had to turn the car around and walk into the post office and apologize to Anthony. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important for a number of reasons, man. Is Anthony, and I always talk about, Anthony doesn't need to have a bad day because my kid's being a pain in the ass and I'm being like entitled. Like, that dude's not doing anything wrong, like being like, hey, that ain't cool. But you see, I suppose I'm like everyone else. I don't like to be told what to do. I don't like anyone telling me what I'm doing's wrong or inappropriate. So, I had to put up the wall and shove back, right? So, I got all this going. I leave and I really think about it for a moment. And I'm like, man, I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. So I turned around and I drove up to the post office and I walked in there and I made a full-blown apology to Anthony. And Anthony, stoked, not stoked, but what he said, he's like, almost nobody would come back and apologize, and I appreciate it. And again, it's that thing of I'm a human, I make mistakes, I forget my role in this encounter. So who was Anthony besides my postal man who was sending out the packages? He was also a gatekeeper to reality, man. See, Anthony and I needed to play out a script. Again, I needed to learn to be humble. I needed to learn to not be self-righteous, not to be indignant, not to be all the bedevilments, not to be entitled, not to be anything but just a human being, right? And part of that humanity is admitting that I am wrong, that I behaved poorly and I behaved in a negative, low frequency way. And see, where most people make the mistake is the hardest thing to do is turn the car around and walk back in there and know that you were wrong, and you're going to go admit that you're wrong to this human being and say, hey, I was wrong. And I don't want it to be right for me. I want it to be right for you. See, that's where most people, I think, go wrong again. Is like, I didn't go to make it right for me. I went to make it right for Anthony, dude, right? Dude's sitting there at the post office, putting the mail out. I'm rude to him. Well, that dude's got to sit there for the rest of the day. Now I could move on and be like, whatever, screw that guy. Or I can be like, you know what, that human being deserves to be treated much better. And I treated him poorly. And so, yeah. Once again, man, fumbling around as a human being, thinking that I'm somehow got it all figured out and I'm this and I'm that. Really, man, I'm just a dude who forgets his place a lot. So yeah, I mean, if that's the one thing that I've learned in the last 8.5 years of being sober is, A, it's okay to be wrong. A, it's okay to behave poorly. It's what you do when you're wrong and you behave poorly. Do you make it right for the other person? It's not about making it right for me. It's about making it right for the other person. And that's a heavy game to play, man, because it's an honesty. It's a truth. It's something that I think that everybody's. Not everybody, that's a generalization. I think that it's one of these things in the modern world where everyone's afraid to admit that they're wrong. That's my one thing that I've gotten a lot better at is going, you know what, I'm wrong. I am wrong. And I need to apologize to you to set you free. Now, I don't need to set me free because I'm still the monkey who behaved poorly. You know what I mean? I thought my bananas were more important than his bananas. My bananas are more important than your bananas. They aren't, man. They're just my bananas. So, yeah. Don't be afraid to turn the car around and go apologize when you've been a bad monkey, man. It's what makes the difference, man. As I've learned. And I'm not giving myself a pat on the back. I'm more like, dude, absolutely like fessing up to like, that's where the spiritual work lies, dude. It's like, did I just do that? Did I just behave like a jackass again? Like I did that? I was that guy? Yep. Well, lessons learned, right? Every day is a day at school if we choose to learn the lesson. I learned my lesson. Yeah. Oh. Anyway, it's The Illusion signing off.